Spider-Man. Spider-Man. His villains get bitten by eels and shit.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another night at the Theatah. I am Saga.
I'm Fleetscut.
Paul.
You need to come up with a name, Paul.
As soon as I want to, I will come up with a silly nickname for myself.
And we have all seen The Amazing Spiderman 2, the fifth film to feature Spider-Man, but
within the last 10 years.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
so we've had different views on this movie.
Some people say it's crap.
Some people do.
Those people are in possession of a point, but not really.
I thought the film was a clusterfuck, but
I thought it wasn't the best movie in the world, but it wasn't the worst. It was definitely like one of the better Spider-Man movies, but still not the best.
You see, I feel like I've always felt like I'm not in on the joke because I don't hate the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but like everyone's saying like they're good. I'm like, I just don't think they're as good as the Raimi movies.
They feel more comic booky.
Yeah, but I don't know how to say it. Like there's something missing. I don't know what it is.
See, I don't think there's something missing. I think they got everything right this time because they actually got a Peter Parker that was more energetic, more just comic booky in general.
Listen, because here's the thing: for everything that these Mark Webb movies are getting right, they are getting another thing wrong. Well, that's a very arguable statement, but for every positive, there's a flaw that can be found. Let me put it to you that way. Yes, we do have a more energized, more quippy, jokey Peter Parker, but on the other hand, they're blurring the lines between Spider-Man as a character and Peter Parker as a character because they are two different people.
No, actually, that's the thing. It's kind of like the relationship between Batman and Bruce Wayne. And most times, Peter has to make a choice. Does he sacrifice his life as Peter Parker to save a life as Spider-Man, or does he sacrifice that life to have a life as Peter Parker?
I know that, but Peter, what I'm trying to say is Peter, when he's jokey and wisecracky and, off the wall, literally off the wall, he's in his Spider-Man suit because that's the persona he wants to put forward.
Well, no, but that's also just the way that he deals with being Spider-Man.
Yes, but when he's in Peter form, he doesn't really do that quite as much.
Well, he's not supposed to.
Yeah, I know, and that's my point. In these movies, he kind of does. He blurs the lines between Peter and Spider-Man. Peter needs to be a definition.
Peter isn't that sarcastic when he's Peter Parker.
He still is chemistry nerd Peter Parker when he's chemistry nerd Peter Parker. He's just quippy Spider-Man when he's quippy Spider-Man, and in this movie, he spends a lot of time being quippy scientist Peter Parker, and that's not really Peter Parker. That's this movie's interpretation of Peter Parker, but whether or not that's more enjoyable than an actual representation of Peter Parker is up to you.
It actually depends on the Peter. Because I feel that it is more like the Ultimate Universe Peter Parker.
Yeah, the Amazing movies do seem to be going more down the Ultimate Universe route. Mm-hmm. The clearest example is the design of Electro in this movie, which we'll get to later.
His origin story, too. The origin story is from something else, but yeah.
Bitten by radioactive eels.
Oh, I have to bring up a point here.
That silly.
The eels I kind of like because it looks like they're going with everything is going to be animal based in this series, which I'm okay with. But the part
most of his villains are.
Yeah, I mentioned to you though once that if there was ever a point because in the trailers we clearly see that Jamie Franco's character Max he's got a big space between his teeth, right? Mm. But when he's Electro in the trailers, it's not there anymore. So I think I said this to you guys once that if they showed in the transformation sequence his teeth fused together, I would applaud. That happened in the movie. I applauded.
Not only did that happen in the movie, it happened in the movie exactly how my head camera showed it happening.
With the two little
saw that
with the two little strands of electricity pulling them together.
Yeah, they shot it exactly the way I would have. It was crazy.
So it's official. One of Electro's superpowers is dentistry.
Apparently.
He has the ability to push one positive and one negative charge through his teeth.
He charges his teeth and they attract.
I was amazed they actually
How did blood not spurt out of his gums?
Oh, who knows? But like
Semantics.
I should talk about like what I really don't like about this movie. This movie is a clusterfuck to the eyes. There's just a bit too much going on for me. And I'm sorry, like I know it's her final movie. I know Emma Stone is one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now, so we have to give her a lot of screen time. I could give a shit if the entire movie is her. She might go to this school in England. I don't want you going to school in England, but I have to go. But I don't want you to go. I'm gonna stalk you. Peter Parker stalks this girl in this movie. I'm sorry, he stalked her.
I think they went overboard with the whole relationship and like building up the feels.
Yeah.
So they can tear them down.
Like, I mean, like, I'm sorry, and I'm not even saying spoiler alert, because if you don't know this, fucking Gwen Stacy dies. Yeah. Because, you know, if you know anything about the comics, you know that happened. And it's just like, oh my god, I don't care about all this stuff going on. It was cute, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Garfield and Stone, they have chemistry, because they're a real couple, right? They're a real couple. So they have the chemistry. It's just, I did not pay to see the Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy hour, okay? Just show me some more about Peter learning about himself. Show me a bit more of the villains learning about themselves, and like, as some critics put it, this was the best romantic comedy of the year, featuring Spider-Man.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. There was a lot more focus on Peter rather than his actual antics as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's something that actually happened in the first movie as well. And I think I remember hearing somewhere that the excuse for that was that most people, when they're watching like a movie, if they can't actually see like a face on the actor, they lose interest.
That's the problem. That's why in every Spider-Man movie the mask comes off at the end.
That's why he spent most of the last movie with his mask off. So like I'm sure they were kind of like aware of that when they were writing this. I don't know if there's a way around that. But maybe the next two will.
Who knows where that's gonna bring? And like I said, like I would have liked to have seen more of the villains in this. Like I hear Electro's getting a lot of shit, and I can see why, because Electro was very clearly a tacked-on villain in the same vein as Venom.
Yeah.
Where it's like the studios just said, no, you got to put a big-name actor in there, and he's got to be one of the more gimmicky ones, one of the cool-looking ones.
And the creepiest, saddest motherfucker in like,
oh my god,
cinema recently. Like
there were parts of it where like I felt sorry for him, the other parts where I was like, okay, back up a little.
I just keep thinking to myself all these times when he was like, he touched me. Spider-Man touched me.
Yeah.
In my head, I just kept
going,
he was
a little over
Django.
I don't think we've ever seen that kind of a Mac Dillon before.
No, this was I'll give this movie credit that at least this one was different, original. Like he wanted to be a hero, and then when he actually got the taste of power, that was actually I think the best scene in the movie.
Well, not even that. He was in that crucial transition period where he was trying to do good, but he was being pushed because of everyone's reactions, and I think it was that with which, and it was a nice thing to see.
See, actually, that I think was the best scene in the movie, and just because Jamie Foxx and I'm trying to blank, who plays Harry Osborn? Do you know?
I can't remember his name.
Chronicle.
Kid from Chronicle, who has the most evil eyes I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and smiled. When he grins, just
yeah. But anyway, those two are actually very good actors, and
fantastic.
And that was actually I think the best scene in the movie. There's this point where Harry Osborn wants to break Electro out of his jail, which was a really cool design jail, actually.
Yeah.
I like that. It got a little too, like, Joel Schumacher DC for me, where he's like, we are now going to test on you, Electro.
Yeah.
But, Electro, I like that. You have a name now, Electro.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He actually sounds like that.
Yeah.
But he's going to break him out, and Harry's like, I need you! Electro just has this moment of like, you need me? Where he's like getting this feeling of like, someone needs my help, and he wants to help him. It's just, unfortunately, for evil.
My big problem with Electro is that after he got his powers, he just completely lost all personality.
He had
and all
3
character.
scenes after he got his powers.
God.
There was that scene where he was in the Oscorp office.
Yeah.
And he was just at Harry's beck and call, and he was just kind of like standing there, not doing anything.
He kind of.
He's Joel Schumacher Bane.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
He's Joel Schumacher Bane.
And that's where you can really tell that it was tacked on. See, like, my question is, what originally was going to be was it just going to be the Goblin being the main villain for this, you think? But he doesn't even show up till like 20 minutes till the movie ends, and then it's only a 10-minute scene.
Yeah.
Okay, I would have loved it if this movie would have been Harry and Peter. Just Harry and Peter, mind you. meeting up after years of not being around one another for a very, very long time, Harry having to take over Oscorp and stuff like that, and it having just been him going through all of Oscorp, like digging deeper and deeper and deeper and finding out the Parker's connection to all of this without actually telling Peter, and that's his big crux of, do I go down good or do I go down evil street?
Yeah.
Like, he and Peter are both in just this sort of race where they're just both learning more about Oscorp's dark secrets and both taking them differently and cementing each other as mortal enemies. Culminating in the creation of the Goblin and Gwen Stacy's death. Not giving us, I'm shooting electricity bolts all over the place, my dubstep soundtrack is awesome, and everyone look at my Dr. Manhattan body, but you don't get to see my dick.
Oh my god, actually, can I say that really quick? There's a moment in this film where Jamie Foxx rematerializes like this, right? And you see all the blue coming together, and as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh god, I'm having Watchmen flashbacks. No! Oh, thank god he's got shorts.
Oh dear god, Django Watchmen flashbacks. Django Watchmen flashbacks!
Not again!
Oh, okay.
See, but the problem with your scenario, Paul, is that it doesn't really give much focus to Spider-Man. Because while Peter Parker and Harry Osborn are trying to figure out all this stuff about Oscorp, it doesn't really leave scenes for Spider-Man to fight villains and tie the Spider-Man persona into the story.
One of his defining moments could have been the moment where he hires the villain of the movie, who's been terrorizing New York for the first third or something like that, while the development's been going on. His contact with that villain behind Peter's back in order to basically have him go after Peter in order to get his blood forcefully.
That is kind of what happened. There wasn't as much focus on Harry. It was all really just Peter.
Let's just
okay. Then here's what I'm saying. This movie should have been focused more on Harry, less on the villain of the week, and you should have given the villain of the week a little bit more development. Given Harry more screen time, but given the core development to the main villain.
That's what I mean. The worst part of this entire movie is that, look, I would like to see character development between Harry and Peter, but we can't have that. We have to have scenes of Peter telling Gwen nothing. Just nothing happens. I just like that. That's like I could be wrong.
He told her the very, very important information of the fact that she was forbidden to ever touch her nose again.
Oh my god!
Smile, never,
oh my god! Then I was having 500 Days of Summer flashback.
Corny, hackneyed writing for the love scenes.
Can we have Spider-Man swing off something?
How much do you want to bet that they told them to ad-lib those love scenes?
I know. And like I said, I think the biggest problem is because Emma Stone, and once again, great actress.
Yeah.
She's just such a big name now, and because she is dying in this, the steward's like, no, you have to give her more. You have to give her more.
Yeah,
she has to be the big.
They were really pushing that relationship.
Do you really think that she was the one pushing for all that, though?
No, not her. Sorry, I mean like the studios are like saying, because this is her final role in the Spider-Man movies, right? Because she is so big right now, it's not like she can just have that small little one. No, she's got to get shoved in there.
Yeah.
And I just I had a little bit of a conspiracy theory here. Not a conspiracy theory, sorry. Towards the end of the movie, because I knew it, you knew it, we all knew Gwen was going to die. I got really worried towards the end that she wasn't going to die. I thought they were going to cop out. Let me explain why. Because they did not introduce Mary Jane in this movie.
There was a reason for that.
I know. Let me explain. Keep going though. I have so little faith in studios these days that I was half expecting there to be no death of Gwen Stacy, because now, for whatever behind-the-scenes reason, Mary Jane wasn't in this movie. And I thought that they would just not kill Gwen in this just because Peter can't be sad at the end of the movie. That might send message that, not everything turns out good in the end. He has to have a girlfriend. That, or that she would just be shoved in there in the last 5 minutes, which she isn't. So right after Gwen died, which is there's only 15 minutes left of the movie at that point, I'm just worried that, oh god, please don't introduce her. Please don't introduce her.
No, see,
they didn't, thank god.
See, I knew from not the very beginning, but there was a point where they announced that they were just cutting her out completely.
Yeah.
And they recently announced the reason for that, and it was because they didn't want to shove this girl in And for the exact same reason you were stating, they didn't want to shove her in as the kind of like a rebound for Gwen Stacy.
Exactly.
They didn't want to introduce this character and undermine the whole relationship they were building for the whole movie.
I have been proven surprised before. I was surprised that they did kill her for the sake of... Can we talk about that scene for a second? Because if we're talking about just what was the best shot scene,
Do you know what
scene?
Do you know what it was? Like, I don't know if this is the scene you're talking about, but just this...
Her death.
Yes, that was it. Do you know what... But before we do that, do you know what it was for me? Because I didn't read a lot going into this movie. I didn't read a lot of the articles or anything like that. I wasn't going into this movie assuming that Gwen Stacy was going to be dying at the end of this. Do you know what it was that just told me that Gwen Stacy was going to be dying? And it's not even where she died.
Where?
It was the fact that they were standing on top of the Golden Gate.
Yeah, which is where it happened in the comics.
Yeah, I know. Just that's where
that was its
scene
tease.
began.
No, the tease came when a set photo was released, and Emma Stone was wearing the same outfit.
Yeah, that's the outfit that wears in there
when she died.
But I sat there and I was like, oh, they're on the Golden Gate, and Harry just, oh dear, okay, I know where this is going.
Actually, I remember when, like, there was still rumors floating around and everything, that I had originally like a completely different picture of how they were gonna do the death scene, because I don't know if you know, but in the Ultimate Universe, the way that Gwen Stacy dies is she's attacked by Carnage and has her life force absorbed, and then she kind of just like dies in I don't think anyone's around, but she died alone.
Yeah.
But what I think they were going to do is one of the very first set photos they released was a picture of a bunch of lockers.
Yeah.
And for the people that like read Ultimate Comics, they recognized right away that it was the original lockers that Kurt Connors kept the Venom symbiote in. Right, so I thought that was going to somehow tie into the story. Maybe there was an undercurrent of introducing Venom.
You know, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that because this movie had enough villains. Okay,
I was thinking they would have taken out something else.
Oh, okay.
And like instead of maybe doing Electro, put more focus on Harry, and then have the Venom as the undercurrent.
That could have worked, and I'm wondering how they're going to shove Venom into these movies later on.
I think he is in the fourth movie. I think that's the villain they're working towards. I'm not sure.
You never know.
Well, in terms of that scene that you were talking about, like the actual death scene, I think we should probably talk about just how it was shot and what we thought. Falling
through clock gears and all that.
Yeah, all the debris.
A lot of time symbolism.
There's a shot where just web's shooting very, very slow, and the front of the web is opening up.
Yeah,
and it's just
what's the hand?
Yeah, because when I first saw it, I was like, oh wow.
Hey guys, call me cold-hearted. It took everything I was not to burst out laughing when that happened.
Too. I was and I was on a date at the time, so I didn't want to look insensitive in front of the person I was on a date with, while this person was trying to save the girl that he loves with his magical hand webbing.
Oh my god!
When I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, we actually get to see the web unraveling and like how it attaches to the surface.
Symbolism!
And then a hand, and I was just like, really? Come on.
Yeah, between that the hand and the hand of the hour clock like just going down and all the gear, like all the time symbolism, like I said, there was just
Yep.
Now, another thing about the death is that in my opinion, there was a little bit of a cop-out. Because if you know how Gwen Stacy died in the comics,
it was left ambiguous to who actually killed her.
No,
more
it was
brutal.
It was Peter that killed her.
No, but we don't know. Look, I'll say this: in the original comics, how she actually died was Goblin's just holding her. Peter was not with her at the time. What ended up happening was
he threw her off the building.
He said he threw her off the building,
off the bridge.
Yeah, off the bridge.
And
whatever.
then Peter webbed her.
Yeah,
and it was the whiplash that broke.
That's
her neck.
what actually did kill her. But because at the time they didn't want to say that Spider-Man actually did it, they sort of implied that the drug is what actually killed her. She was dead before she was even dropped.
But I'm saying like in the comics, what actually happened? It was Peter
whiplash
by accident killed Gwen Stacy.
Yes,
and that was kind of the focus of the whole thing. But in this movie, they kind of copped out of that because so that's what I thought.
Way more
when it happened, I was like, that's just so brutal. Because what happened is she was webbed and she was like maybe 3 feet off the ground, and because the web is elastic, it just stretched and she reamed her head off the concrete. And then just kind of like was suspended there, and I was just kind of like, that is so brutal.
That was brutal.
My face when that happened, I was like,
See, what like
Is that how you killed her?
Yeah.
I was so bored.
Emma!
I was so bored up to that point in the movie, though, that when that happened, I actually was like, okay, we actually have a pulse in this shit.
Yeah.
Because no, the best part was right in front of me. This mother brought her 3 small children, and I'm just like. Oh, they're coming out of this theater, men!
Yeah.
Sprouting pubic hair and in debt!
When I went to go see The Dark Knight, I was sitting next to a dad with his 4-year-old.
Oh, and you get to this scene, where you think this has power over me?
No, Dark Knight. I'm talking about razors in the mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking want to see a magic trick. The goriest of them. I'm sitting next to a literal 4-year-old, old enough to be able to perceive a movie, but young enough that everything will scar you forever.
Yeah. Can we talk quickly about, like, a bit more about the villains, though, of this? Like, let's start with the one with the small role. Let's talk about Paul Giamatti as the Rhino.
To be honest, when they first said they were introducing all these villains, I was a little skeptical, but when I actually saw the movie, it was actually kind of brilliant.
Paul Giamatti was good in this because Paul Giamatti is just a great actor, but he was hamming it the fuck up. Ham and cheese, sir.
Dripping with Swiss.
Like, I'm pretty sure his face was red for all the scenes.
Yeah,
because of the way he was going at it.
He was like just, oh my god, he had this thick Russian accent.
Yeah.
Oh, you are trying to get me, Spider-Man!
I will make you cry, Spider-Man!
It's like he was.
I am the Rhino!
It's at the end, you get.
He's threatening the kid at the end.
Oh my god, we're gonna talk about that in a second. Trust me, we're gonna talk about. I am a monster. But I'm like, okay, if you've seen the trailers, there's this one shot where Spider-Man is about to take the manhole cover and just hit Rhino. That is literally the last shot of the movie.
I was waiting for that the whole time. I was like,
that's my. Like, I got to bring up a small point here. I have this problem where I remember everything from a trailer. Yeah. Everything. So that's why I can't be surprised in movies when I'm like, but this hasn't happened yet, so this character isn't dead, and so on. And unfortunately, now part of this is my fault because I just like watching trailers. I knew exactly how this movie was going to go because if you see the trailers for the Amazing Spider-Man 2, it gave away the entire movie. Yeah. And so just the Rhino, I mean, I thought, okay, we're going a bit more robotic. That's cool. It's a very small role. They're just setting him up for the next movie. We kind of already talked about Electro. One thing I want to bring up, though, before we get into the Goblin about Electro, is there was this really cool design choice they made with him where what he would do is he would shoot an electric bolt out of his hand, then he could travel through that current and reappear at the end of that one, which you brought up was a very interesting parallel to web slinging, which, because he adored Spider-Man, I thought that's actually a really cool idea behind that.
But he's been doing that in video games for like ever.
Yeah, but he didn't do it like that, though. You know, he didn't travel through his own...
no, he did. Yeah,
did he?
He would always you always see like something joining him before he zapped through.
Has he ever been a more clear parallel to Peter Parker, though?
No, no. Yeah, I don't think because I think
it's more effective here.
Okay, yeah.
I think this is the first version where Max Dillon was actually like a scientist or related to science.
He was an engineer or something.
He was the engineer that designed the power grid for the building or something.
He's your stereotypical sad nerd. Machines are my life. Why can't I get a girlfriend?
Actually, yeah, you're right because the way that Max Dillon was at the beginning is kind of how Peter was originally in the comics before he became Spider-Man.
Could have been if he was never Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's basically Peter if he grew up without his Spider-Man powers.
You get that, kids? If you're smart and a little shy, don't worry. You need to just get superpowers to become successful.
Or if you have crooked teeth.
There you go. So, but what do you guys think of the Goblin in this?
I thought it was phenomenally acted. I love that kid.
The actor was very...
I'm sorry. For the life of me, I cannot remember that boy's name. I saw him in Chronicle, and I just fell in heterosexual actor love with him. It's just he's got this way about him that allows him to just play these psychotic villains that have such an intimidation.
And, God, I don't know.
He's so scary.
He is. When he became the Goblin and his teeth and his smile, that was like this is. I don't know how much of that was prosthetics, but I just thought, okay, no, we're entering shit my pants territory with this kid.
Not even this the scene where he's like begging Electro to help him.
Oh yeah,
that was like that was actually really good. I was like, wow, this kid's actually doing a really good
Wait,
job.
you know what? You know what I liked most about his whole goblin thing? He cleans up nice after.
Yeah.
Like he's not. It's not a.
Yeah, because the hair was kind of
What
like
did he say?
slick back.
How did he put
yeah.
it? It comes and goes.
It's not a. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
a deformity. I mean, he cleans up afterwards.
Yeah.
Like he can still run Oscorp. He's just also a supervillain.
He
And
runs
in jail.
Oscorp with the help of Felicia. There's a very
Felicia Hardy's in this movie.
Well, see, that's part of like what I said originally.
Black Cat.
How they it was really like ingenious how they introduced all these extra villains.
See, here's the thing I think about Felicia Hardy, why she's there. You know how Felicia Hardy, in terms of her family canon, her father was someone who was supposed to help steal the super soldier formula?
Yeah.
The spiders are based on the super soldier.
Yeah, but they
No,
like,
well-
but they can't bring that. They can't say that in this because different companies like they
I
can't say
think-
Captain America in the
No, yeah.
They
Spider-Man
could very
I think
easily
this goes-
say we were trying to replicate an old World War II
No, here.
experiment.
This-
They might be able to say that.
This goes back to the Ultimate Universe because this is because it's actually pretty obvious to see this in the Ultimate Universe. Oscorp does all this crap because they're trying to win a grant from the government to recreate the super soldier serum, and that's how the spider that Peter was created. That's how Norman got his powers. That's how Harry got his powers. That's how Doc Ock was created. That's how Carnage was created. It all stems out of Oscorp, essentially, and this formula they made.
So it could be like like Oscorp really is the big bad company in these movies.
And
so.
yeah, and that's because Spider-Man is the only Marvel property they have, and Spider-Man is also a self-sustaining property.
Yeah, you don't need all these.
They need something. I think what they're going to do soon though is they introduce Roxxon,
They might.
because that's also it takes some of the like villainy off of Oscorp, so you don't just have this one like mega pillar of villainy.
Yeah. See, I had the idea that maybe because they're building up the Sinister Six, what they could do with Spider-Man, because now that Felicia's been introduced, they could make it that he and her team up along with, and I would love to see this character put into the movies, the Prowler. I always thought he was cool.
Yeah.
Him, Black Cat and Spider-Man could all team up and take on the Six, but who knows
Wait,
about that.
isn't the Prowler? Isn't that Miles' uncle?
I don't.
I can't remember because I think he was a character they introduced for part of Miles's thing. Anyways,
But
what about Felicia Hardy in the Ultimate Universe though is her whole motivation was that Wilson Fisk killed her father.
Something like that.
So I think in this it'll be that Oscorp was responsible and that's why she was in there.
Could be that, yeah. Before we wrap this up, me and Paul are just going to talk about this one scene that we are divided down the middle about.
Okay.
It's at
I'll
the
be
end.
deciding vote.
It's at the end of the movie where Spider-Man, he's feeling sad.
You're just as much of a monster as he
Oh, and he
is.
spends like
Feeling-
6 months standing in front
Yeah,
of
which I'm okay with that. I
Yeah.
actually am.
Yeah.
But then there's the part where the Rhino is out on the town. And there's this kid he talked to earlier who. Okay, first of all, thanks Mom and Cops for grabbing the kid before he runs out to face a giant machine. And this kid just stands in front of the Rhino. And I'm sorry, I hate it in movies when this happens. When little children, little 8-year-old kids are brave. Children are not brave. This is Darwinism, everybody. Peter, you're a man of science. Let the Rhino squish the fucker.
Now let me rephrase that in a human way. Thank you very much. So Spider-Man, a little at about the midpoint of the movie, saves the kid from being bullied. Like he's clearly being ganged up on. There's a bunch of kids.
Fine.
Shut up, you monster. He was beating up on. They're being beaten up on. And he comes along. He scares the kids off, and he walks the kid home.
That was awesome.
He helps
He
him
does
fix
it-
his science projects.
He web glues his science project. He's just like, dude, you made a freaking wind turbine. You're a little
That's so
fucking
awesome,
genius.
yeah.
That was awesome.
He's great with it, and this kid who feels so empowered after meeting his hero Spider-Man that one time. Will not take off this little Spider-Man costume that he's got
That
on.
kid's gonna have
and
problems growing up.
feels so emboldened by this experience that he decides to stand up to the Rhino when no one else will and be Spider-Man. And Spider-Man appears behind him and is all like, "Hey, good job, kid. Tag me in, bro."
The reason
Gag me with a spoon.
Oh,
the reason
shut
I
up.
like that scene is because it is ripped right out of the comics.
And
One
one
of-
of the Raimi films.
One of Peter Parker's
And I hated it in the
Hold on.
Raimi movie.
Hold on. One of Peter Parker's biggest flaws is his low self-esteem. Whenever something comes along, he always gets in the mindset it's his fault and he wants to give up to Spider-Man persona. He wants to just give it all up and just become
one
normal
thing quickly.
Peter Parker.
You know, as much as I like Spider-Man, Peter Parker's a whiny bitch.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Peter Parker is a
It's
terrible character.
He has a huge inferiority complex.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And the reason I like
What does
this
that
scene
do with
is
this
because
child?
it motivated him to come out of being...
No shit, I hope it motivates him. A little child is in there.
The point is that despite Peter's own inferiority complex, the thing that he derives most enjoyment from Spider-Man is inspiring others.
Okay,
And-
look, I'm
and
sorry.
helping
Look,
people.
once again, though, chill. Look, I hate this in movies, not even just to this level. Whenever, like, a child, like a kid under 10, is this beacon of truth and honor and light. Children don't act that way!
No, but it's supposed to be... It's more like a metaphor. Children are supposed to represent purity and innocence.
this is,
But they're not!
This is fiction, you numbnuts. Children represent what you want them to
Yeah.
represent. Just because they don't represent that in real life doesn't mean that they
Yeah.
can't represent
No,
that
it just
to
is
you.
annoying.
That's fine. That's you. That's you, dude. That doesn't make it a bad scene.
It kind of does.
No, it doesn't. That just
No, it
because
doesn't.
it doesn't appeal to you
No.
doesn't make
Yeah.
it a bad scene.
Look, I just don't like when kids don't act like kids.
Whatever, dude. Like,
Think of it this way, right?
the scene was well shot. The scene was...
The scene was well shot. Like, Mark Webb knows where to point a camera.
kid-
Think of it this
properly.
way. The kid is
He
like
didn't
what?
act. He ran out and he stuck out his hand.
Think of it this
that
way.
doesn't require
the kid
acting.
is 8 years old. 8-year-old kids are always full of delusion. They always want to be, superheroes and stuff.
But they're
They
not
don't-
brave.
Oh my god.
Look, I'm sorry. There
You've
is no such
obviously
thing.
never met a brave kid.
No, because I've never seen a child walk in front of a tank.
Have you ever seen a tank in front of a child?
In
front of
any
your
war
eyes?
story you've ever heard, in any historical anything you've ever seen, was there ever a Tiananmen child?
You're forgetting this is a comic book story.
It's just, I hate it when kids are like this and dude, and also it's not pertaining just to this movie. I hate it in Iron Man 2. I hate it in the first Raimi Spider-Man movie. So why do you put children in these situations where I just want to take the child's head and go, you are down?
Because the story needs
Because it's supposed to
moments.
be the metaphor. It's supposed to be the what
How
the kid
about
represents.
Spider-Man just realizes that, you know what, I have to be like this because with great power comes great responsibility.
If Spider-Man learned his lesson just suddenly, he'd become a Gary Stu.
He is a Gary Stu.
No, he's the opposite of a Gary Stu. He spends all of his time holding back his great strength. He quips more than anything. He reasons through things, but because he's got a legitimate reason to be intelligent, he's working on a university degree in fucking neogenics, physics, all those fictional genixes.
Yeah, I love when
in
they
the
have.
Spider-Man
I love
universe.
buzzwords like that, like
Yeah.
cold fusion.
Doesn't matter. He's working on like a multitude of degrees right now. He's stupidly intelligent and he's got strength and uses it responsibly. He may not act responsibly all the time, but he's certainly not a Gary Stu. He's a complex character who knows his
You
limits.
just said not 10 minutes ago that he's not a complex character.
He is a complex. When did I say he wasn't a
You
complex
mentioned
character?
I forget what the actual thing was, but you did say something along the lines of he's not deep, he's not like I forget what the actual wording was, but
I never said he wasn't deeper.
Okay.
And
Oh, yeah.
there's a difference between being...
we have
I
footage.
think he was talking about just the Peter Parker in this movie,
Yeah.
rather than Peter Parker in general.
And I was talking about the fact that he wasn't... The fact that Peter Parker ought not be as quippy as Spider-Man. It blurs the lines
Yeah.
between Peter and Spider-Man
Okay.
as a character. That's what I was
the
saying.
point
Peter has layers. I won't ever say that he doesn't have layers. He's just... In this movie, he was just way too skippity-doo all over the place.
he was a little what's the schizophrenic?
Yeah, just a
not
bit.
Yeah.
schizophrenic.
Is that him?
No, schizophrenic's like multiple personalities or something.
Then
Max Dillon was schizophrenic.
yeah, okay.
Well,
Then what am I
schizophrenic
trying to
is-
think of then?
Schizophrenic as an adjective in this sense would mean that he had a lot of things going on.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what
That
that
too.
means.
Okay.
I meant more of like the how he was just so hyper.
Yeah.
All over the
But
place.
we have if this video proves anything, it's just that we have very different opinions. Would
Yeah.
you guys recommend it?
I would
Certainly.
definitely recommend it, especially if you're a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
You'll definitely get enjoyment out of it.
The narrative's a little jumbled.
It's
It's a little all over the place.
I stand by that it's a clusterfuck, but it's a pretty clusterfuck at least.
Yeah.
If you know your Spider-Man lore, you'll pick out almost everything.
But then at that point though, like, is that anyone who's already like decided I'm gonna go see Spider-Man? We're not gonna change their mind.
I know exactly. Yeah.
But the multitude of characters in this thing allows for a little bit too much perspectiving to go around. You're seeing a little bit too little from too many people's eyes. And it's a little cluttered.
If you don't give a shit about the relationship that goes nowhere in this movie, at those points you can leave for a bit because those go on for about 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
So have fun.
It was basically like a cover video for their honeymoon or something like that.
There's going to be quite a bit in this movie that you don't necessarily feel that you should have had to sit through. A few extraneous scenes.
A few.
A very, very good Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Just that moment where his head was just in the shot. It's like, oh, look. It's a subtle cameo.
I prefer...
And then Stan Lee's just like, holy shit, there's a guy with a Spider-Man costume over there. And it's just like, well, thanks, Stan. Thanks a lot. Great to see.
Anyway, so you got 2 yeses, 1 maybe, so take from that what you will.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm Cell Saga.
I'm Fleet Scott.
Wow!
That's Paul, apparently.
Yeah.
And... Spider-Man
swings around on silk and shit, fighting villains based on the animals because he's a metaphor for Theseus.
Look out!
He is a dude who fights animals that are crossed with humans and fights with thread. Think about it. He's a metaphor for Theseus. Read your Greek mythology.
I wanna
And
see
puberty.
Craven. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah!
Bye, everybody.
Bye.